The end of the world has never been an outdated topic for people to discuss.
With every new scenario presented, thousands of opinions analyze its danger or feasibility.
In the current context, just a year after the COVID-19 pandemic passed, many people ask themselves,
what would happen if humanity had to face an unstoppable super pandemic? A disease that spreads faster, is more dangerous, and is completely incurable. Would that be the final period at the end of human civilization?
Basically, epidemics are something beyond human control. They can strike at any time.
And we can only find every way to contain and destroy them. Today, we will discuss another scenario related to the survival of humanity. Welcome to the next episode of the Apocalypse Scenario series on Primitive Universe. Before getting into the main content, I have a few statistics to note with you. Every minute that passes, about 105 people die for various reasons. This means that every year, the Earth loses more than 55 million people. And most importantly, about 78% of those deaths are caused by diseases. The rest die from common causes like traffic accidents, natural disasters, or war. On the other hand, deaths from infectious and parasitic diseases account for about 30%. Infectious diseases are the factor capable of creating a scenario of a world-ending pandemic. Simply put, an infectious disease is one that can spread from one individual to another. The source is usually bacteria, viruses, or sometimes fungi and parasites. The routes of transmission are diverse: air, food, water, contact, or mother to child. When it spreads fast enough and wide enough for over 2 weeks, it is called an epidemic. On a larger scale, it is classified as a pandemic.
To bring humanity to the end, it must reach an unprecedented level and scale.
But exactly how big must it be? Have we faced anything similar in history?
Throughout history, humanity has experienced countless epidemics of various sizes. Some have been contained, but others still haunt us when we remember them.
First, we must mention the Spanish flu pandemic that took place in 1918.
In just 1 year, it killed 50 to 100 million people worldwide.
That was equivalent to 2.5 to 5% of the global population.
Experts say the flu pandemic never truly ended. Its descendants still exist. They combine with other viruses to cause new outbreaks, like in 1957 and 1968. And again in 2009, killing millions more people across the globe. The Spanish flu caused heavy damage, leaving many widows and orphans.
Funeral homes were overwhelmed, and bodies were piled up, unable to be buried. In the US, many businesses closed, and agriculture was severely affected.
There were not enough workers to harvest crops on the farms. Local medical facilities closed, making it difficult to stop the spread.
By the summer of 1919, the pandemic weakened as people died or became immune. Yet, there was no treatment or widespread effort to stop it. But the Spanish flu was not the largest pandemic in human history.
The most horrific was the Black Death in the 14th century.
At its peak in Europe, between 1348 and 1350.
It wiped out 3 to 6% of Europe's population.
This was equivalent to nearly 50 million deaths.
It was none other than the bubonic plague.
The disease existed in rats and traveled from Asia to Europe on merchant ships.
It completely changed European life and society for over a century.
And finally, we cannot ignore the pandemic of the century, HIV/AIDS.
This disease has claimed tens of millions of lives since the 20th century.
And to this day, there is still no way to prevent or cure it completely.
History has recorded many wicked pandemics, but they all passed. Could a pandemic bring humanity to the end, like in Hollywood movies?
And if so, how would it happen? Most of us have had the flu at least once in our lives. With a few pills and rest, anyone can recover quickly. But do you realize this common illness is why you take the most medicine?
Humanity is still helpless against the flu virus.
The medicines you use don't cure the flu. They only reduce symptoms. We have vaccines, but they only have a temporary effect. The flu virus changes over time, escaping the immune system.
Immunity to the flu cannot last for a person's entire life.
When infected, the body creates specific antibodies to fight the virus.
When the virus changes, the old antibodies can no longer recognize it.
The immune system then fails to protect the body from the new strain. There are over 200 types of viruses that cause the common cold. Viruses develop differently in the host body than bacteria do. The flu virus enters through the nose and throat to attack the body.
It doesn't multiply in the blood, but attaches to the cell membrane.
It then releases its RNA into the human body's cells.
The virus then multiplies inside the cells and spreads outward.
With such a unique attack mechanism, we have no way to cure it.
Medicine must kill the virus, but it hides inside our own cells.
We cannot destroy our own cells to kill the virus.
Imagine if the mutation rate of the flu virus went out of control.
They could become more malignant, with symptoms beyond a simple headache.
Muscle pain and respiratory failure could kill a healthy person in minutes. A global pandemic would be unavoidable due to airborne transmission.
Scientists would be helpless to create a vaccine in time.
Media would fall into chaos, constantly warning the public.
This would cause panic, leading to looting and social collapse.
International organizations would be unable to respond to the disaster.
All production and services would stop to deal with the pandemic.
The military would have to work hard to maintain order.
Hospitals would be overwhelmed, and bodies would be everywhere.
In just a few months, the Earth would become a mass grave.
Only a few people on isolated islands or in the Arctic would survive.
Isolated countries like New Zealand or Australia might be the only hope.
Small islands in the Pacific could also prevent the spread.
North Korea might also protect its people by closing its borders.
Still, the loss of life would be an immeasurable disaster.
Have you ever imagined an Earth with almost no people left?
What would happen to the machines and infrastructure we built? After the chaos, the Earth would face new problems without humans. Bodies would decompose everywhere, feeding swarms of flies and mosquitoes. The air would become heavily polluted by the smell of decay.
Subway systems would quickly flood without anyone to pump out water.
The same would happen to oil refineries and nuclear power plants.
Wild animals would move into the cities once humans are gone.
They would adapt to the new environment, making the cities their home.
In just a few years, trees and plants would cover everything.
Buildings would deteriorate without maintenance and repair. Everything would return to how it was before humans appeared. Most satellites would eventually fall back to Earth and burn up. They would burn in the atmosphere before hitting the ground.
Higher satellites could orbit for thousands or even millions of years.
They would be the longest-lasting legacy humanity leaves behind. Back on Earth, skyscrapers would collapse, replaced by forests.
Smaller buildings would last longer, but would eventually crumble too.
nature would erase all traces of our existence on this planet.
This is not a bright future for a civilization. We must protect it.
If a pandemic threatened humanity, what would your plan be?
Where could we go to rebuild a community and protect ourselves? Humanity has two choices. One is to leave the Earth,
Leaving behind the disease to find a new home in space.
The second is to build a stronghold and wait for it to pass.
Isolated islands could be the hope for humanity's rebirth. They would provide resources and protection from the pandemic. Experts say biotechnology could create a gene-edited pandemic.
While it could cross land borders, it couldn't cross the ocean easily.
An isolated island could host a high-tech community to rebuild.
Where is the most suitable place for us to survive?
We can only rely on islands far from the mainland. It must be a large enough island to support a community. With experts in various essential fields to rebuild society. Countries with a population over 250,000 are ideal. Australia, New Zealand, and Iceland have the necessary features.
A high-tech community could be successfully rebuilt there.
But there is one more hope we have forgotten. The Seed Vault. Deep in a mountain in Svalbard, in the remote Arctic, is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, built in 2006.
It is called the Doomsday Vault, protecting humanity's heritage.
It is one of the most secure and safe structures in the world. Its purpose is to preserve human culture and life on Earth.
Many countries have sent their seeds to this vault for safekeeping.
After a pandemic, this vault could light the way for the future. But who knows what will happen next? We must be prepared. What do you think about this? Is there another scenario we should face?
We will see you again in the next video of the series. Goodbye!